Madame la Commissioner, Kyria Vivian Reding, nous vous souhaitons le bienvenue en Grèce. It's a great honor having you with us in order to address our conference as a keynote speaker. Madame Reding, please proceed to the floor.
President, friend, Minister, members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here for a year again. And last year I stressed in this very place the importance that broadband has for competitiveness and for growth and for citizenship in the European Union. I applauded the efforts made by the industry and by the Greek authority to boost the deployment and the adoption of broadband, and I must say, 1 year later, well, the efforts start to pay off. There has been a very positive development in broadband take-up in Greece. The penetration rate has doubled in a year's time. It was 4% in January 2007. It is 9% in January 2008. That is the most rapid development in Europe. And I believe that setting concrete targets through the Greek digital strategy has been decisive in achieving this significant improvement. And the Greek government was very ambitious when it committed to reach the EU average penetration rate by 2009. That means you have to double again, because the average broadband penetration in Europe is 20%. Our best performers are nearly reaching 40%. You are now 9–10%. So if you continue to double each year, you will reach very quickly the goal. Let me also praise the valuable work that the Greek National Regulatory Authority is carrying out in a very independent and impartial manner. For example, promoting co-location and unbundling to the local loop, which has allowed alternative operators to invest and to develop new services, and which has developed also competition. And you know that the keys to progress are competition, new products, innovation, higher access speed, and lower prices. So you are on the right way. Unfortunately, many of the decisions of the regulators cannot be put in practice because they are blocked in the courts. Take-up is also dependent on the availability of broadband networks. Today in Europe, 93% of the population is able to subscribe to a broadband connection, 80% in rural areas as a European average. Here again, Greece has made an important progress because it doubled the coverage and reaches now 40% of coverage of DSL network. That might sound impressive, but if you look at the hardest part of the problem, then you see that there is still room for going ahead, because the narrowband dial-up connections are functionally obsolete everywhere in Europe. But in Greece, 70% of the households are still connected to the internet through narrowband access. And so really you have to work on this if you want to have a progress. But why, could you ask, is it so important to have high-speed access to the internet? Now, given our high and rising labor costs, we Europeans are above all dependent on the productivity gains. And the productivity gains are brought by high-speed internet economy. So if we want to keep our quality of life, meet the pressures of the aging population, and fight the global competition, to have high-speed internet connections is the only way out. And it is even more true when, like in Greece, the inflation is running at over 4% per annum, when the labor costs are rising by 7% last year, and when there is a widening current account deficit that already stands at 14%. More than most other member states, you need a productivity miracle. And this productivity miracle can only be brought by the high-speed internet economy. Because this is a driver of economic growth and reform. You know that 77% of the European businesses have a broadband connection. And here I must say that the Greek business community is doing rather well, because they moved up in this respect from 58% last year to 72% this year. This is a good progress, but it is still only number 19 in Europe. Public services also are increasingly delivered via broadband connections. The latest data indicate that 48% of doctors EU-wide and 67% of schools EU-wide are subscribers, while 60% of public services in Europe are fully available online. Here again, the Greek performance has accelerated, but there are still gaps. Doctors really nearly reach the European average. They are at 44% who use broadband. But only 13% of schools use broadband. And that is a real problem, because you are not investing in the future generation. And it is a future generation which, in a knowledge society, will bring economic and social wealth. Fully online public services in Greece reached about 45%, a figure which is dragged down by the weaker provision of city services, only 33 fully online. It is very interesting when you look at the Greek figures, because, you see, on the one hand, the business community uses the internet government services in line well above the European average, putting Greece in the second place in the EU. But when you look at the citizens' use of broadband, 12% only, Greece is at the 25th place in Europe. In Europe, nearly 40% of Europeans don't use the internet. In Greece, this is 62%. And it shows that more than half of Greek households do not have broadband because they don't see the point of having it. And I find this, for the development of this society, very worrying, because broadband means better, more efficient, more effective services to citizens. And if you here can get this message home, the internet economy